そろそろ終わりにしようか。いでよ！
When worn by a human, a Seru will grant the wearer great powers. Depending on the type of Seru equipped, these powers can include greatly enhanced strength, control over the elements, and even the ability to fly. There were many types of Seru, and every type served a separate purpose in their benevolent and submissive interactions with humans. With the strength of Seru, humans were able to build civilization and thrive on the bounty created by their Seru-given powers. At first glance, it would seem that all the Seru were inherently good beings, doing the bidding of their human masters without protest or question. In actuality, Seru are neither inherently good nor evil. Whether a Seru does good or evil ultimately depends on the person using it. This is something that can be said for all naturally occurring Seru. However, with the knowledge obtained by the Seru, humans discovered a way to enhance the abilities of these otherworldly creatures and modify their bodies by using their own scientific methods. The humans, with their dependence on Seru having grown too high and their spirits warped for the worst, created a Seru that could be likened to a demon from the depths of hell itself. That Seru is the soul-sucking, the heart-devouring, the life-draining, the legendary Juggernaut. Humans had built many cities with the power of the Seru, and one such city was a large one built near a giant mountain and natural hot springs. This was the city of Ratayu in the northern Sebikis Islands. An ornate palace was its focal point, and it served as the home of the city's lord for generations. Though it is not known when, at some point an enormous laboratory was constructed within the palace, filled with elaborate machinery and all sorts of equipment that was of use only to the palace's most intelligent minds. The laboratory was so immense that the cavern underneath it was seemingly a pitch-black, bottomless pit, and the lab's equipment could only be reached by crossing a winding stone path decorated with red script that, if it had any meaning, was known only to a select few. This laboratory was heavily guarded, and only the Lord of Ratayu and a few guards and scientists were allowed inside. What exactly was this laboratory used for? Why the need to be so large in size, and why was it so heavily guarded? Well, humans are naturally curious creatures, and things that start off simply as ideas are often attempted. What if a Seru could be created that was a literal giant? Someone must have asked this, as the attempt was made and even successful. It is unknown what kind of giant Seru were previously raised by Ratayu's brightest minds within its palace, and it is unknown how often they were created. But Ratayu came to be known as the one place in Legaia that had the technology to raise giant Seru. Over a decade before the raw Seru heroes journeyed across Legaia, a legend so old that even Legaia's elderly knew of it when they were children had been passed down. This was the legend of Juggernaut. The legend says Juggernaut will come to life when the mist covers the land, that he's a child of the mist and is a servant of the mist. Larger than Mount Latona, faster than a flying cart, he breaks down walls and shakes the earth. Juggernaut is a Seru not meant to live in the human world. He feeds on human life and eats hearts. A succinct legend that makes its point how it came to be is unknown, though with its reference to Mount Latona it probably originated in Ratayu, the one place capable of raising gigantic Seru. However, with Ratayu's populace in awe at the idea of giant Seru such as Juggernaut, and the underground laboratory being sealed behind a door only Ratayu's lord was in possession of, it is likely that no giant Seru had been created with any of the Ratayu citizens' lifetimes, at least at the time the game takes place. Still, the prospect of giant Seru technology was highly coveted by some in positions of power, and in the wrong hands, the legend of Juggernaut would become a reality. During the long war between the nations of Concram and Sol in the continent of Callisto Kingdom, some of Concram's elite wished to use Ratayu's technology for their own ends. If Concram could create giant Seru, they would certainly have an advantage in their war effort. But logistically, Ratayu was a long distance away from Concram, and seriously considering its use was impractical. However, with Concram's Prince Court creating a new weapon that dramatically strengthened Seru known as the Mist, along with his discovery of a rogue fragment, an alter ego of a raw Seru that endowed him with incredible knowledge, the creation of giant Seru was a possibility for Concram. Not just any giant Seru, mind you, but the creation of Juggernaut. Court's discovery of the rogue fragment gave him the knowledge to enhance existing Seru and create Seru mutants, which he dubbed Sim Seru. Each of his henchmen was given a Sim Seru to wear and instructed to go forward with his plan for world conquest. Concram's Secretary of State, Dohati, who was the most intrigued of them all by the legend of Juggernaut, was given an additional Sim Seru to take to Ratayu. Dohati met with Ratayu's lord at the time, Bon Saryu, and presented the Sim Seru brought with him, presumably as a gift. Despite Saryu thinking the Seru was most unusual, he put it on and was immediately taken over by it. Unlike the Seru that merely lent their strength to humans when attached to them, the Sim Seru had minds of their own, and this one took complete control of its host. It gave Saryu only one command: to create an infinite number of the legendary Juggernaut. To make his job easier, the Seru also controlled the minds of all of Saryu's guards, who would act as his enforcers for anyone in Ratayu who would think of disobeying him. Saryu entered the laboratory in the cavern underneath his palace, and turned on the device the lab was built for, which was an enormous incubator that could grow a truly monstrous Seru. There would be no doubt that the Seru raised by Saryu would be malicious in nature, as the method by which it grew was truly sacrilegious. Saryu placed an unknown Seru in the middle of the incubator, which surrounded it in a deep, circular pond of blood-like red liquid, while his scientists tended to the machine so the Seru could be optimally transformed. Saryu then chose young women in Ratayu one by one to become what he called a Seru bride, sending a letter to each woman's family and having his guards retrieve her after she was properly outfitted in a dark purple wedding gown. Once a young woman was escorted to the laboratory in the castle, Saryu's guards would incapacitate and place her in front of the Seru waiting in its pool. Moments later, the Seru would raise a large tentacle and swallow her whole, before she was sucked up into a transparent cocoon-like pipe filled with clear liquid. This process was repeated multiple times, and Ratayu's citizens eventually wised up to the fact that their daughters were being sacrificed in the palace. But any attempts to revolt were quickly shut down with force, as the Seru-possessed Saryu ordered his mind-control soldiers to kill any dissenters without mercy. While Saryu was busy sacrificing women to his monster, Dohati finished building a castle holding a mist generator in the western sea of the Sebikis Islands. The generator was activated and began spreading mist throughout the land, reaching Ratayu only a few days afterwards, sometime late on the 5th day of harvest month. Saryu had just finished raising his monster under the palace and was prepared to begin the process of raising another, having removed a piece of the original and combining it with a new Seru base. He sent a letter to the only daughter of Ratayu's innkeepers, and was prepared to feed her to the second monster he was raising the very next day. But with the arrival of the mist causing the Seru to go berserk and slaughter or possess everyone, Saryu's second creation was put on hold. But no matter, the first one was complete. As the mist swallowed Ratayu, an old man witnessed the Juggernaut of legend rise out of Saryu's castle just before he was possessed by an oncoming Seru. Juggernaut truly lived up to its name, as it was unrivaled in sheer size or power by any other creature on the face of the earth. A monstrous Seru that walked on 6 legs with massive claws. Its large head had 2 opaque white eyes, a mouth filled with razor-sharp teeth, and a long red tongue. Its body was adorned with rows of horns that sat atop a black-armored carapace, its chest covered in bony white armor, and its body ending in a pronged, writhing tail. With every step it took, it shook the earth, and its body moved with the sound of heavy machinery seemingly coming from its joints, highlighting its man-made origin. With the evil of the mist flowing throughout its body, it would destroy anything with a blast of flaming hot fire or bright laser energy coming from its mouth, and could sneak up on any of its prey with its ability to swim through the oceans or teleport to any location in an instant. Fortunately for its enemies, Juggernaut regularly slept in a lake of mist in order to replenish its mist elixir, strengthening its body, and so they could at least be safe from its wrath, if only for a short while. Despite being the most powerful of the Mist's henchmen, Juggernaut followed instruction from the Mist's creator, Court. Juggernaut was essentially a giant, dangerous pet of the Mist's mastermind. Juggernaut first makes its existence known to us when it begins nudging its head against the wall surrounding the tiny village of Rim Elm in the southern peninsula of Drake Kingdom. The villagers all leave their huts to investigate the repetitive thunderous banging against the wall, which causes it to bend inward. The banging temporarily stops when a mysterious floating entity calling itself Zeto appears before the villagers and promises to bring the salvation of the mist to them. Upon instruction from Zeto, Juggernaut destroys the wall with a quick blast of fire from its mouth and then simply disappears, letting a horde of Seru enter the village in the wall's absence. Juggernaut could easily have destroyed Rim Elm, but this was just a ploy by Court to lure out the remaining raw Seru sleeping in Genesis trees, so he could create more mist generators and thicken the mist blanketing the continents. Once the raw Seru meta was awakened, the next target was the raw Seru, Terra. Having sensed its presence inside the sealed Snowdrift Cave, Court had Juggernaut break open an entrance and let the mist in, forcing the raw Seru out. Juggernaut was then sent out to destroy the walls and fans that protected Byron Monastery from the mist, allowing Songi to lead an assault inside and lure the raw Seru to the Genesis tree in East Vaz Forest. The raw Seru heroes discover a second Juggernaut being created inside Ratayu after they drive the mist away, and everyone there is angry at them for doing so, much to their surprise. They learn from the townspeople about Saryu's continuation of his Seru Bride program, as even after more than 10 years trapped in the mist, Saryu never lost sight of that objective. Noah infiltrates Saryu's castle to save the innkeeper's daughter Eliza, who was summoned by Saryu before the mist first covered Ratayu, and was now being summoned again to pick up where he left off. Noah is almost fed to the second Juggernaut, but is saved by the combined efforts of Vaughn and Gala, before the three of them team up to defeat Lord Saryu and destroy his Sin Seru. When Saryu comes to and realizes what had happened, he shuts off the incubator and sinks the Juggernaut under the artificial pond, which solidifies on top of it. This doesn't kill the creature, however, but merely seals it inside. As his memory comes flooding back, Saryu tells them in his throne room the history of Dohati coming to Ratayu and giving him the Sim Seru that commanded him to create Juggernauts infinitely, then gives them the key leading toward the Western Sea, where they could reach Dohati's castle. It is inside the castle that Dohati reveals his existence and criticizes Saryu for trying to feed a raw Seru to the second Juggernaut. Right before he is killed, he brags that his creation Juggernaut has already been set free, and will unleash destruction upon them all. With the raw Seru heroes grouped together, they prove to be stronger than Court had anticipated, and once he felt them contact Legaia's creator Teague within Callisto's ancient ruin Urumais, he sent Juggernaut out again to destroy it and prevent them from contacting the god in the future. The Ra Seru wearers were in awe of Juggernaut's powerful energy at its approach, and the Ra Seru even admit that they have no chance of beating it in a fight, forcing their wearers to flee before they get caught in Juggernaut's attack. Juggernaut immediately teleports out of Urumais after the assault and returns to the Mist Lake underneath the Mist Generator in the Absolute Fortress, where he lies sleeping to replenish the Mist Elixir that strengthens its body. Juggernaut is crushed by the collapse of the entire Absolute Fortress after the Ra Seru heroes defeat Court and send him toppling into the Mist Lake, but in order to save himself from death, Court merges with Juggernaut, drawing out the monster's true power and making it stronger than ever before. Juggernaut returns to Rim Elm and assimilates with the village by extending countless tentacles from its body until it's turned into a giant mountain of intestines, with the only thing resembling it before it merged being its mouth at the very top. In this state, Juggernaut is unable to move, but having swallowed Rim Elm's villagers, it would continue to grow rapidly until it covered the entire planet. Songi prevents the Ra Seru wearers from entering Juggernaut's body by covering its mouth with a protective barrier, but after his death, and the power gained from the Great Genesis Tree in the Seru realm, called Seru Kai, the Ra Seru are able to use their power to break the barrier and force Juggernaut's mouth open, where they begin a descent inside its body. Juggernaut, being impervious to damage from the outside, forces them to travel to its heart, which they must destroy in order to kill it. However, after Juggernaut and Court merge, Court and Court's Seru are encased within Juggernaut's heart, causing Court's mind to become corroded by the combined consciousness of both the Juggernaut and Rogue. Court emerges from Juggernaut's heart with a new body covered in armor, horns, and multiple mouths. The Ra Seru wearers are unable to reason with him and are attacked, but their combined power defeats Court. With the destruction of Juggernaut's core, it is unable to sustain itself any longer, and its body begins to break apart. All the villagers that it fused with were set to die as well, but the Ra Seru use their final powers to separate their bodies from Juggernaut's without killing them, and its body is soon disintegrated entirely. To me, Juggernaut is one of the best examples of an unstoppable force in gaming, as there's no point in Legend of Legaia that they even pretend you can so much as scratch it in a head-on confrontation. And of course, Court's summoning of Juggernaut with evil Seru magic is one of the coolest attacks out there.
そろそろ終わりにしようか。いでよ！遊びはここまでだ。
ここまでか。
I actually leveled up to 99 the natural way about 10 years ago, by equipping Crimson books on my party and fighting Spoons and Barras over and over until Seru gave me his key to the Juggernaut room. Being able to summon Juggernaut and use Dark Eclipse was so cool, even though at level 99 you could defeat any enemy in the game far too easily for the spell to be of use. Too bad I didn't know about the glitch to let you clip through the guards and get Juggernaut early at that point. One thing I always wondered is if the second Juggernaut ended up successful in absorbing Noah and Terra, would it have had any new powers from the raw Seru that the first Juggernaut didn't have? Or would Terra's influence have somehow made it weaker? Dohati surely didn't seem to think it was a good idea, so maybe the second Juggernaut would have been influenced by the goodness of Terra? There's no way to know for sure, but what do you think if you had to come up with your own theory? I'll have my next lore video coming out soon. It's a bit of a longer one though, so it's taking a bit more time to edit, but don't worry, I'll get it done. So, what did you think of Juggernaut in terms of video game monsters? Thanks for the support, guys. Until next time.